Now we are entering into the thought leadership and Amrut Distilleries case study of our webinar. We want to welcome Mr. Ashok Chokalingam, Head of Distilling at Amrut Distilleries, and Umang Trivedi, General Manager, Amrut Distilleries. I request Hemant and Uday to join us back for the conversation.
Thanks, Malini, and welcome Ashok and Umang to the discussion. I think while the video was not probably, we would like to spend more time on it for sure because it had an amazing amount of features. What I picked up very expressively was saying that it was digitally signed and authenticated in terms of who are the people who are actually creating this. It also had information about the story. I was thinking about the hundreds of Shiltons or hundreds of Kunal, and for that matter, hundreds of Ashok actually telling me the story in person as to what that bottle of whiskey actually is trying to communicate, what that's trying to say. So all very exciting. I think so that's going to be really a dimensional change in terms of how the story is told, because it makes a great difference in terms of who's telling the story. Right. So I think so. That's great. So welcome, Ashok. I think that I will stop saying this multiple times over and over again, saying that you have been the torch bearers for multiple things. And this is also another thing that you have been the first to step into. So the first bottle in India with the NFC digitally tagged, blockchain enabled, has come out into the market. Tell us everything about it. What else that you can remember, the entire experience? What's the kind of response that you have got from it? And do you think that all that Malini has been speaking about and showcasing in a demonstration video, all of that can be brought to the fore with something like this?
Thanks, Hemant. First of all, thanks to all the panelists who joined, as well as the participants, and in particular, to the Vlinder team. And you and I know what has gone behind the screen to implement what we have done. Having said that, many a times I told it in the past, everything is in front of your eyes, and it's all depends on your ability to see through. First of all, I wanted to make the Amrut Fusion X bottling as special because this is the first bottling we are doing after we have lost our past chairman, N.R. Jagdale. I think the credit goes to him in terms of what Indian single malt whiskey in general it is today. So when we have decided to pay tribute to him, I wanted both the liquid as well as the way how we present it to be very special. So the liquid was kind of cooking in the barrel, in the question of basically presenting it. So then we joined up with Vlinders, and I would say this project was in the making for a year and a half when we have conceived this option of using an NFC. And it was not that easy to just implement it. There was so many technical issues, and how you basically apply into the bottle, make sure that once the bottle reaches the shelf, still the tag works. And there are so many challenges. And I was simply amazed when we have discovered what we can do with NFC. And in particular, what I really liked about it is your ability to eliminate counterfeiting your product, and in an equal measure, convey the message that what you wanted to the end consumer. And this is an era of mobile phone, and in particular smartphone. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry got a mobile phone and per se a smartphone. So, and almost most of the smartphones have the ability to read NFC tags these days. So, and the product that what we are trying to sell, I'm pretty sure that at that end of spectrum, I think pretty much everyone who buys this bottle will have a smartphone for sure. So then is a question of integrating chip into the bottle and make sure it works. Like we did quite a few trials, and the amount of involvement shown by the team from Vlinder, they pretty much came and bottle every bottle and then put the tag themselves, and they checked and made sure that the tag is readable and intact. So if you tap your bottle, first of all, as they have shown you in the demo, what we have also done is we have used different programs for different regions where the bottles are going, and we have an approximate retail price of the product. In the US, it's going to be retailing at, say, $325 approximate. So all the bottles that are destined to the US, when you tag it, it'll show the MRP or retail price in US dollar. And then ones that are going into Europe will show in euros. And then in India, obviously, it was selling in Indian rupees, and then we have shown it in Indian rupees. So in a nutshell, I'm so glad that, again, we led the way as usual with the new technology for the first time. And then I'm so proud that we have used it in our Fusion X, which we pay tribute to Inna Jagdale. It's a double whammy for me.
Thanks, Ashok. I think so very interesting points there. And one thing actually I took note of is the option to create different price lines for different markets. Now that's an interesting point, and that should be very, very helpful to people across the globe. Uday, do you have any questions for Ashok?
Yeah, I actually have a question as well, because we spoke about the grain to glass before. So Ashok, so I think most of you would know, but it has to be mentioned again that Ashok spent thousands of miles traveling around Europe to put Indian single malts on the map. And this is, going back a decade and a half. So, and recently I was at Whiskey Live with you all, and you could see, the fruits of all the stories that you've told over the years and built up the brand, Ashok. So the question that I have is, how have you seen the customer change over the past 10 years? And how have you seen that a brand needs to change in terms of the way they tell stories? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Ashok, are you there?
I think Ashok.
Sorry, Hemant,
Ashok, did you get the question?
No, the screen was frozen for a minute. Now it is fine. Can you repeat the question again, please?
All right. Uday. Yeah. No, what I was talking about was, how you've traveled thousands of miles across Europe, putting Indian single malts on the map. And I could see it myself when I was at Whiskey Live last year that, there's so many people coming as a result of the stories that you had told on the ground. But that was, a decade and a half ago, and the world has changed drastically. And you also mentioned phones and social media. How important has storytelling, how much more important does storytelling become over this decade and a half? And how do you think brands need to start looking forward and engaging with technology to help them move forward?
Of course, the world today is not the same as what it was 16 years ago when we started to sell our first bottle of single malt. To start with, people's perception of Indian single malt 16 years ago and what it is today is very different. I would say much more acceptability, and I wouldn't imagine we will have a local fans like you and Hemant, for example, right? Which was not even a small thought 16 years ago. That's the reason why we went out of the country first to establish our brand, get recognition for ourselves, and then come back to India. So I think that strategy really worked well. Now, to answer your question, the consumer behavior 16 years ago and today is very different for multiple reasons. And now you take an example, the COVID situation. We all got to adapt to the environment under which we live. There are situations which really out of your control. And today, everything is like virtual. Now, pretty much this is a time where we try to enhance and embrace the technology. And of course, you can never replace human-to-human contact and the way you have a masterclass where you have 50 people in front of you, and that would be never replaced by virtual. However, when a situation forces you, and because of the pandemic, for example, now, and this is the best available option, and it's easy, you can meet people around the world. Now, in communicating the message, the one thing that really liked about NFC is a sustainability angle of it. I can leave loads of trees where by completely eliminating the printed tags and the tasting note card that we put inside the canister to communicate to the consumer. And that's not going to be the case anymore. I've already stopped putting tasting note cards into the bottle anymore. It's all going to be QR code. People can just basically scan and then go through the information, not only on that particular product, but also the other product that we produce. And as you earlier talking about the grain to glass, now on this Fusion X, we have completely provided all the information from where the barley came from, when it was distilled. In fact, because it's a fusion where we have used Indian and Scottish barley, which was sourced from different places and distilled at different times, and we had used different kinds of barrels for the maturation. So all this information basically put in. Now, when you nose and sip the whiskey and simultaneously going through this information, it's kind of, a fulfilled experience where you have pretty much every possible information as if the master distiller came in front of you and given you all this piece of information normally, which you would receive when you visit a distillery per se, right? And that's what the beauty about this new technology, that what we have in place. And then we have already witnessed quite a bit of counterfeit incidents on Amrut Fusion. Normally, the counterfeiters will be motivated to get into the popular brands, which is easy to get along, and then a little bit of expensive product, which motivates you to do so. I think NFC is the future for us, especially at the premium end of the spectrum. And I would think that we would implement that and take it forward to the next level.
Sorry, guys, can I just interject for a moment, because I've got to go and get the kids from school any second now. I'm just going to throw my 10 pence worth in here. I've spoken to a couple of guys who I know are buyers, sellers, investors, and they like the traceability. They like the fact that you can control the bottle, see where it's going. They love that because that gives them an extra layer of provenance. As far as a drinker's point of view goes, the more I know about that bottle, the better. The more you can get out about that bottle, the better. So that's the two big positives I'm going to give you. And I'm talking about guys, you're talking 10, 12 grand buying in one motion kind of guys. You're not talking about me buying like a 50 quid bottle of Highland Park. You're talking about guys buying like 10 grand Macallans. You know what I mean? We're talking that end of level. I've spoken to a few guys who are doing this, and they love the idea of how you can protect the bottle. They love that. From a drinker's point of view, I like the provenance angles. They are very good. Means if I can go on, find out what I need to know about the bottle, and if I can take it from ground to glass, brilliant, wonderful. Very happy about that. Really good idea. Sorry, I've got to run because I've got to go and get the kids. Yash, thank you for inviting me. Shilton, thank you for throwing in that bottle. Ashok, you owe me a bottle for another time. And it's been a pleasure to listen to all this, guys. Highly appreciated.
James, before you go, thanks for being with us. And then, as you rightly said, you can put this tag on a 30-pound bottle as well. It's no brainer. And I think we will be heading towards that. Having said that, you won a bottle of Amrut Fusion on a lucky draw. So I will make sure that it is delivered to your home. I just wanted to tell you this before you go off.
Thank you. The one thing I will also say is in the past, 2 months, there's two indie bottlers that I know on a good level, Chapter 7 and North Star. Now, they've been hitting out bottles from closed distilleries like Imperial, and then you're seeing like your 30-plus-year-old Glenlivet's come out, and then along with a load of other bottles, which are very limited. In fact, they've just gone and put out like a 25-year-old Springbank on an indie cask, which is, let's face it, as rare as rocking horse shit. Now, although your product hasn't been launched, I'm quite sure that from a buyer's point of view, with knowing that that is a kind of rarity bottle, that extra layer of security is going to be incredibly welcome, especially when it's also from a dead distillery like Imperial. Salem just released that about 190 or 200 bottles, 230, 240 quid a piece. I sold 4 to a bunch of guys in Hong Kong and Singapore. And from a buyer's point of view, as you rightly say, that provenance is absolutely essential to someone like me. Even when I'm buying like a 40 quid bottle at Highland Park, it's nice that I've got that, but when you're going to start laying out 200, 300,000 pounds a bottle, that's brilliant. So you just got to get that message out there, and especially as well with these indie bottlers who are putting out these limited runs, especially with the cost of some of them, that's going to be highly appreciated.
Yep.
Right.
Wonderful.
I'll let Yash, excuse me, Yash, give you my address, and I'll forward that on to him for that bottle of Amrut Fusion. I'll get that off to someone else that I know. We'll do some good with that. And my friends, thank you very much. We'll see you in a bit. Cheers.
Thank you, James.
Thank you so much, James. Thanks. There's some really interesting perspectives from James right there. Thanks, Ashok, for that answer. But I think it's really important to note here that, it's right from the lower end to the higher end that this is going to work. And when Ashok mentioned COVID, there are not a lot of these small craft distilleries that have big budgets to send out brand ambassadors into the field. So this could really be a game changer for some of them. So just putting it out there, and Ashok, my address also, so thank you.
Yeah, James had me at Springbank when he mentioned the Springbank and Imperial. He had me there, but yeah, really interesting. I said I'm going to go back to Malini, at some point of time, because she did mention saying where I can buy the Fusion X, which is going to be a very interesting question to answer as well sometime in the future. But Ashok, getting back to the subject, right? I just wanted to find out, saying that how does Amrut, we talked about the solution from grain to glass. We talked about authenticity in terms of, making the bottle more secure for people to buy and consumers like us to ensure that we reap the benefits. But I think so. One of the things that I'm very, very keen upon is as to how does India has got 1 billion people, and quite a few of them are Amrut fans, right? How do you envisage that Amrut is going to actually engage with its customers? Do you think that this is actually going to improve this kind of a solution where you amalgamating the product with the digital footprint? Is it going to help you engage with customers?
There are different ways of engaging with the consumer, provided the consumer is willing to do so. Obviously, there is a obvious starting point, regardless of whatever the technology that you have. For example, the 60 bottles of Amrut Fusion we have sold in India, many fellows have not even really opened the bottle yet. I can tell you that, right? And those who had opened and drank it, they haven't tapped it yet. So anyway, so for me to get a complete experience, all my bottles to Europe and America has to basically reach the destination, and it will take a while to get me holistic feedback of how this system works. And then coming back to the point of customer engagement, I would think this NFC is going to be a game changer for 2 reasons. For example, Heyman, that I came out of Facebook and Twitter maybe 2-3 years ago, not because I did not like them, but because it took over my life. So I just basically, came away from that completely. Now, if you look at this, now I'm getting to know about the information of only what I want at that particular moment. When I open that bottle of whiskey, I just wanted to know it's not going to consume my time, which otherwise would have been spent on something else, my family time, my work time, or whatever it is. So if you look at that from that perspective, when it comes to customer engagement angle, it is way better than Facebook or Twitter or making to send an email to someone, because everything is there. If the person is wanting, everything is on hand, and then they can get engagement with us and share the information both ways. And also, I have a fantastic traceability option with NFC, where I would go through the supply chain, where the bottles are there at the moment and who bought it and so on. So from that perspective, it's going to be very, very helpful for the brand owners as well.
Thanks, Ashok. I think so. Great insight. Just don't see me at the top of your list if you actually happen to see me saying that Hemant has so many bottles. Maybe Yash and Dennis will overtake me over there, but then just ignore our names there. Back to you there.
Yeah, if only I lived in Bangalore and I could have gone and camped out, right? But so I think that was really interesting, and thanks Ashok for those inputs. So I think we'll just hand over to Malini now to take over. And Malini, if you could just tell us a little bit also about other industries that this could be applicable to.
Thanks again, Ashok sir. Yeah, to answer your question, Uday, yes, of course, this solution can be used for very many use cases. We can use this for agri space. At Vlinder, we are onboarding a honey producer soon. We are also in talks with a cocoa producer and a coffee producer. We can also use this solution in high-end retail, where authenticity and traceability is a huge issue. I think we are overshot, so we are giving away free whiskey for a few winners. I will now request Ashok sir to announce the winners. Ashok sir, can you please announce the winners? So
Ashok, I think you're on mute.
Mute, sir.
Sorry. I think it was a random selection by the computer program run by Vlinder. So there are 3 people who won the bottles in the UK. They are Victor Porter, Kerry Campbell, and James Angus. And then there are 5 winners who have been picked up from India. They are Sandhya Shetty, Tanvi Garg, Vincent, Pushpendra Jala, Maharaja D. So these are all the 5 winners, and they will be notified by email with regards to pickup location of the bottle. And I think for the UK, we'll ship them out. It's easy.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Congratulations to all the winners. So many people worked hard for this webinar. The list is long. On behalf of Vlinder and We Do Verify, I would like to thank everyone involved and everyone attending. Thanks to Hemant and Uday for graciously accepting to moderate the webinar. Thanks to Ashok sir and Umang for being part of our journey and for being on this webinar. Thanks to all the panelists and attendees. We were not able to cover all the questions we received, but we will contact you and discuss. We will give you access to our authenticity and traceability app. Recording of this webinar will be made available on a later date. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing the solution implemented in more number of bottles. Thank you, Malini.
Thank you so much, everyone. Pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good one. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.